Now, you look at these guys on the screen, the sophomores, and you say to yourself, there are a lot of problematic situations at hand here. There are disappointments, there's injuries, there's slow starts, there's questions. The most question-free of this crew right here is RJ Harvey, who was probably the most questionable of them all walking into the season to a lot of people. 2026, this is the Dynasty channel, by the way. Welcome to the Dynasty channel. Welcome to the Graveyard Stream. This is a delve into 2026 rebound season, recovery season for Hunter, rebound season, revenge tour for Egbuka, continuation for RJ Harvey, continuation for Hendy, and bounce back city for Hampton. It's going to be a wild ride. This live stream will be a wild ride, but the 2026 campaigns of all of these gentlemen right here, the Triple H and Associates, will be a wild ride. And I continue to support all these guys at their probably great ADPs, considering their upsides. The questionable players, we'll talk about this in a second on the other side of the intro. The questionable players should be baked in. Egbuka, risk will be baked in. He'll be a great value. Hunter will be practically free. Hampton might cost maybe the most value, and without getting what we needed to get in order to want to pay that 2026 value. Egbuka will be very cheap. RJ Harvey, we'll see how he finishes. Hendy, will see how he finishes. They could definitely get their stock up there so high that we're like, damn, not really any kind of value, but we still like them. Let's talk about it all and more of the Fantasy Football Show, Graveyard Show, Dynasty Show, Triple H and Associate Show begins right now.
You're watching a
Graveyard Stream.
In a jam, call HHH and Associates.
Triple H and Associates, locations on Earth and Jupiter.
live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios. It's the Dynasty Fantasy Football Show.
Doing it live. Mario says FF no bueno this year. I'm sorry that this is the way it worked out for you. It was a great year this year. Despite all the injuries, it was a fantastic year. Some people had some bad unfoldings there at the end. Jahmyr Gibbs, week 17. You know, the Christmas games may have tanked some teams that people watch right now. But here we are talking Dynasty. We're not talking redraft. We're not doing redraft questions. We're doing Dynasty. And we look at, let's start off, we'll go one by one on these guys. And my expectation, not only for the remainder, if anybody's watching, the remainder of the 2025 regular season as we're walking into week 17, then we have week 18, then we have the playoffs. And so Hendy will play a lot more football than maybe Egbuka, who's fighting for a playoff spot. The Bucks have a 58% chance, I think, of making the playoffs walking into the week 17 battle. So by the time you watch this 3 months from now, 2 months from now, a month from now, a lot has unfolded that you know that we don't know yet. So we're going to have to readdress some of this stuff, but I don't care. I love talking about it. So Hendy could look so much better than he looks right now coming off the concussion. You got to understand the perspective we have right now. Hendy's been balling the hell out. Gets concussed in week 16. We don't know if we're getting him in week 17. He may not even play in week 17. He's trending toward playing now more than he's trending toward sitting, but it's still, he has to pass certain processes to get into the lineup in week 17. So we don't even know. You might be watching 2 months from now and go, damn, he didn't play week 17, Smitty. Yeah, we'll find that out. If he finishes well, even in the playoffs, though, his cost of entry is going to be second round, minimum in Dynasty. Maybe first round. It just depends on how he does. If he finishes mediocre and Stevenson's constantly stealing from him throughout the entirety of the playoffs, and maybe the Patriots win one game or don't win one game, who knows how this will work out for him. But if he gets to shine, his value could climb into the first round territory in Dynasty 2026 value. If he finishes very mediocre or bland, a lot to be desired, I think he still settles in round 2. I think people are very excited about his future. He's such a dynamic player. We've been on this from the jump. A lot of people getting on the wagon late. But I would say, if he finishes even really good, not as elite as we want him to, but he finishes really good, has a lot of good production. Touchdown in one of two games, let's say 100 yards in one game, 80 yards in another. Just nothing crazy, like 3 touchdowns, game-winning runs. That'll put him in the top 5 to 10. That's how fickle everybody is. I don't really even mean that in a negative sense. It's just people are moved by 1, 2, 3 performances, and then they're upset and ready to jump off players entirely after 1 or 2 or 3 bad performances, especially if it happens in the playoffs in a big spotlight, or especially at the end of a fantasy season. Look at Jahmyr Gibbs right now. How many people are pissed off at Jahmyr Gibbs for 2026 because he failed, and it wasn't even his fault, but it doesn't matter. He still failed. So a lot can fluctuate based on his performance. The playoff performers, it really is going to change a lot. And so this is kind of almost like we're setting ourselves up for having to redo this video on one level or another. Like I could be right on 2 of these guys in terms of predicting their ADP, and then 2 of them blow up in the playoffs. Harvey and Hendy go crazy, and then they're impossible to get. I think second round value will be a screaming steal for Hendy in 2026. I think he could be a top 5 overall running back for sure. I think he's not somebody you want to draft as a top 5 running back whatsoever, because you don't have to, number one. Number two, you don't want to make it to where you're needing something crazy to happen to even break even. But drafting him as a 7 to 12 running back, depending on how he finishes, how much you reach to get him, I think that bakes in a lot of risk. But the further you get down that number, that range of player value, the safer this is. Because of Vrabel, because of some unknowns we don't have in front of us right now, you're trying to take a stab at the value now. You're going to potentially, get some of that value wrong. Hopefully everything that we believe to be true about the man, amplifies times 2 next year. His situation doesn't look cloudy at all like it has this year many times. Even walking into the playoffs, I mean, when this guy went down with a concussion, unfortunately, last week, Stevenson came in and was effective, and you wonder how that's going to change Vrabel's usage in the playoffs. So hard to say, but man, Ramondre's a fumbler, and one fumble in a playoff game might put him on the bench the entire rest of that game. So there's a lot going on. I do feel like Stevenson will fumble in one of the next, 2 games if the Patriots should be so lucky. I just got a weird feeling he's going to fumble the damn ball. Top 6 to 10 running back 2026 for me, and I hope I get to pay on the later end of that.
You've just been Smitty.
I'll open up the phone lines briefly after I go through each player. So Hendy, love me some Hendy in 2026. Harvey is just looking unbelievable. He's every bit the player we said he would be. It's just delayed, and Sean Payton is the tough part about evaluating the slow unveilings that we've been so against, right? In Harvey and Hendy, the tough part about our argument is that Vrabel and Sean Payton have been winning. These are 2 of the best teams in the league. Problem is, you can't really take an argument like this into into the conversation with people sometimes, because they just say you're wrong, but we know we're not wrong. Everything that Stevenson and J.K. Dobbins and McLaughlin and whatever battles we've fought against with Stevenson and the Denver running backs, everything they've done successfully that has enabled these coaches and this team to continue to use the counterparts in ways that frustrate us. Everything those players have done, Harvey and Hendy could have done better. Just like when Algier scores a touchdown on 2 carries, and everyone goes, but it's working. Are they that crazy? Yeah, because Bijan would get it in 1 run. Everything that Algier does, Bijan could do better every time. And everything that any other Denver running back's done, Harvey could do better every time. And so really the argument is hard to make with somebody that's not looking 2-3 layers into it like we do, especially if you're talking just to a football mind instead of a fantasy football mind, which is so funny to me when people say things like, hey, Smitty, you're a fantasy guy. A real football mind is going to think differently. It's such a dumb way to look at it, because someone like me that does this day in and day out, I know football and I know fantasy, whereas a football mind only knows football. I'm bringing two different angles to it. I'm not bringing one. I'm not a moron, okay? I understand the football sense of it. When people go, people don't care about your fantasy, Smitty. And yeah, you're just answering that as a fantasy guy. I'm not. I have to think of things from every angle. And I'm telling you that a only football mind is going to sit here and go, this is working. But a person that's looking at things from a predictive standpoint, everything's predictive models, projections. What could I get? What's the output look like? A rookie evals. What could that rookie end up performing? Therefore, their value. We're doing things in some ways backwards because we're trying to get to the end result or the predictive end result, which will give us an idea of how much upside the player has. We're all about upside. A lot of NFL only minds are about what have you done for me lately. We're about what could they do for me in the upcoming games. And that's the big difference between fantasy and just NFL. And people think that fantasy is lacking the NFL. You can't have the fantasy without the NFL. That's the funny part about the people that run their mouth about that. Harvey would be so electric on the season if they just had played him. But it is what it is. We can't even control it anymore. It's in the rear view. But his numbers would be through the roof. But he's here now. He's won people championship. He's carried people through championship week here and the week prior. And this has been the most valuable player of this grouping here in this fantasy football playoffs. So congrats to everybody that has RJ Harvey. Now, RJ Harvey probably feels a little more shaky, though, in some ways than maybe Henderson, maybe Hampton in terms of his role, just because people still doubt that he's older. They doubt that Sean Payton wants to fully commit long-term to him for whatever reason. They just don't trust that he's as good of a talent as Hampton or Henderson because people said that from the jump. So there's a little bit more concern for him, even though there shouldn't be. This guy's in a small handful of players that have ever pulled in stats like Harvey has. I'll read this data to you, and you can laugh at anybody that's suggesting any different. Let me pull it up right here. Where did I have that graphic? Oh, here it is. So running backs with 5+ receiving touchdowns and 5+ rushing touchdowns in their rookie season. I can name them on, well, almost one hand. RJ Harvey, Ashton Genty. You know, that's pretty unbelievable. Genty's quietly had a really good year at the end of the day. He has. I mean, that 182 touchdowns last week didn't hurt, right, in catching him up. But listen to this again. Let me repeat it. Running backs with 5+ receiving touchdowns and 5+ rushing touchdowns in their rookie season. RJ Harvey, Ashton Genty, Alvin Kamara, RJ Harvey and Alvin Kamara. Ironic, right? Gale Sayers. I think it was Taylor. Char Taylor, and then I think it was, I forget who, but relevant players. It was only recent players. It was only RJ Harvey, Ashton Genty, Alvin Kamara, and then we're talking Gale Sayers and deeper plays. That's crazy. That's how good RJ Harvey's been this year. 5+ rushing, 5+ receiving. That is a very small group of players. No, it wasn't LT. It wasn't LT. 5 rushing, 5 receiving. We're talking about like Gale Sayers type players from the past. We're talking about only Kamara, only RJ Harvey, only Ashton Genty. Those are the only recent players in the last 20 years that have had 5+ and 5+. It's crazy. I mean, that's insane. And Sean Payton commanding 2 of those results. It's insane. I mean, that's how good RJ Harvey and how good Genty quietly has been. Genty's a whole nother topic that we can talk about. But RJ Harvey, for me, there's still gonna be a lot of doubt. I don't know why. Plays amazing. He's such a good receiver. To me, he's gonna only be that much better next year. His pass pro, everything is gonna be great. Probably going to be a 2nd to 3rd round turn player, but probably still breaching potentially 2nd round territory. It just depends on how he finishes. If he doesn't finish hot, 3rd rounder, we'll be lucky that he falls in the 3rd round. I certainly am going to take him in the 3rd or 4th round. Like any player, as the motto will go, the mantra for 2026 for us on the Dynasty channel, the main channel, will be diversify your fantasy football portfolio. But yeah, it's going to be crazy. Smitty, can you do content on rookies that could have prominent kick return rules? Yeah, but some of that's predictive, bro. You know, like you're predicting what team he lands on, and you can't really do that yet, Vincent. It's not going to happen for rookies, because then you're just taking this guesswork at that point. Not to mention a very small percentage of the whole overall population does kick return stuff. So probably not going to see that until those rules are defined and when the teams are handed out. It's just, you take a lot of guesswork. Harvey, I'm probably going to say Harvey is a top. Yeah, we'll just call him 2-3 turn player. Totally Smitty approved if we're paying that kind of value.
You've just been
So excited about what's to come for RJ. Egbuka, this is probably the one that's going to be a little bit controversial. Probably not with you guys on Dynasty, but in redraft, people are writing him off like he's trash. They're just, I don't think people realize he's an elite player. He's an absolute elite player. Let me put Book on screen. And anybody that doesn't, now this is where people, they say, oh, well, your fantasy, what, you don't know ball. To me, anybody that thinks Buka isn't an elite skill set player is the one that doesn't know ball. Because, I mean, this guy is so far advanced over any rookie we've ever seen at the wide receiver position. Footwork, mental, hands, everything. And I know he dropped a football in the end zone. I know he struggled lately. He's hitting a rookie wall. You can't blame him. Rookie walls happen, especially when you've been driven into the starting lineup as deep as he was from the jump with the injuries and the early entry to Evans and Godwin coming back slow. This guy was vaulted into the spotlight immediately, and he delivered. And he hasn't played Week 17 yet. I'm predicting a very strong Week 17 performance where people will jump back on the wagon because he does so well. The team's talked about coaching staff using him more this week. They're fighting for a playoff spot. This is entering Week 17, so their Week 17 and Week 18 games have not been played. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and they need to win both of them in order to try and get a playoff spot and to continue their season. And so there could be some playoff games, maybe not. Maybe they don't get into the playoffs. Again, you're watching this entering Week 17. If they get into the playoffs, we got a lot more time for him to earn trust back. And then his ADP climbs back. Then his trade value in Dynasty climbs back. So we could be redoing this video with a whole different angle, good or bad, for Buka's ADP and projected ADP walking into the 2026 season. I think that he's no way he's going in the second round. I don't even know if someone would pay 3rd round ADP right now for Buka. I don't think they would. I think that if he finishes strong and they make the playoffs and he gets multiple games of proving himself, yeah, he could easily climb back into that territory. So it's a little hard to predict. He's probably the most unpredictable of the crew because right now he's fallen completely down to probably 4th, 5th, 6th round value in a redraft and maybe 4 or 5 round value in a dynasty. I don't even know. But if he has a couple strong games to make the playoffs, he has a couple more strong games, then it's got all bets are off for getting discounts. People will very quickly run back. To me, the best way to describe him for 2026 would be this is a top 10 wide receiver in 2026 Dynasty. Plain and simple. I don't even hesitate. And probably the most important piece of info tonight that you can get is trade for him. Because if he does bounce back this week, even if he doesn't, I think people get excited about his rookie or his sophomore year again at some point. Trading for him is going to be tough. Right now, he's at the bottom. If he has a good game, even just one good game that has a mediocre game in Week 18, they don't make the playoffs. But there's one improved game between now and your trade. You're not going to get the discount you can get right now. This is a top 10 wide receiver, and I want him in as many dynasty leagues as I can go after because I know I'm not going to get him in all of them. I'd certainly, like I said, diversification, but I'm going to try to get him in all my leagues because I know I won't. Not everybody's going to bite, and I'm gonna get at least 1 or 2 trades done this offseason at value that's so far outside the top three rounds, top 36 overall. He's not at that value right now in Dynasty. He's just not. And that's going to change. I think it's going to change. Go get him now.
You've just been Smitty approved.
Two more players from the Triple H and Associates.
In a jam, call HHH and Associates.
Triple H and Associates. Locations on Earth and Jupiter.
I think let's go Travis Hunter real quickly. Then we'll finish off with Hampton. Hunter's a really, really tough player to rank, and I'll be honest, this is the one I'm least excited about. And I'm not saying I'm not excited about him. I'm just saying least excited because I don't know what's in store for Hunter next year. I don't know if Liam Cohen's going to say, look, we got in the groove once this kid went out. And it's because we weren't trying to balance so many things, making him a defensive player, making him an offensive player, trying to work it out. And it wasn't that he couldn't handle it. It was the Jaguars couldn't handle it. It wasn't ever on him. I know some people said he just can't play both ways. It's not true. It's that the team couldn't handle it. He's a better receiver than he is corner, in my opinion. Because he's such a skilled player with the ball in his hands. He's a big time, big playmaker. And while he can be good at both, and I think they do still go down that road, I think they're going to go down that road at Liam Cohen's discretion, not letting Hunter's comments of they'd rather not play at all if you can't play both sides, and they're forcing this thing. Plus, they have an entire offseason with him getting a feel of the NFL game, the speed of the NFL game, to ease him into both sides of this thing. I do not think that they're going to lock him down to one side, but I think they're going to pick that he's an offensive player. And I think that at the end of the day, they'll have so much ability to work this out as the offseason unfolds. We'll see fluctuation in his ADP and value. But the one part that I think is the solace here is the unknowns of it. Is he going to be defense? Like Silver says, Hunter is probably a cornerback next year. It's a total speculation that Silver's making, and it's not a bad one. I'm just saying it's speculative. And everyone's going to have their own opinion. And that widespread chatter and opinion without fact at all, it's just opinion, which is fine, is going to scare the hell out of people that are on the fence. And so the ADP is going to be just a damn near steal. And so my advice would be scoop it up. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. You're not paying anything close to value that will even hurt you if it doesn't work out. And he's still in Superflex leagues. Defensive leagues as well, IDP leagues. He's going to be a total cheat code still. Just make sure you look at your projections to make sure your scoring is accounting for that. But this is a guy they took at the top of the draft, essentially. Near the exact top of this draft. So far up the top 10 that they took him as a wide receiver for a reason. They could have taken him as a corner inside the top 10 as well, but they didn't. They drafted him as a receiver. I think there's a real strong shot that this team considers trading BTJ in the offseason. There's a real strong possibility that BTJ, the attitude problems, the lack of effort, giving up on plays, the fact that they have a crowded wide receiver room now, one of which isn't going anywhere because he just inked a big, huge monster $60 million deal. But you also have potentially a lot of other things you can improve upon by getting rid of BTJ. So I think they'll entertain the potential trade. Entertain it. What can they get for him? What can they improve? Can they protect Trevor Lawrence? What can they do? Can they bring ETN back? And so that will be tied to Travis Hunter's upside. But Hunter is the one I'm least excited about because there's a lot of unknowns that even I don't feel real confident in knowing the answers. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's not like I'm sitting here going, oh yeah, without fail, they're going to figure it out. We don't really know. Like, it's a big unknown. But I'll tell you what, I want to be on board this train if it's practically free. If a lot of the comments in the chat too are like, low to wide receiver room, he's going to play cornerback. Like, those are a lot of fearful approaches that are going to drive down his ADP into a near free territory, or at least, you know, like even beyond flex territory. Like, he might be a wide receiver 4, you know, or a low end wide receiver 3 in a rotation with another wide receiver 3 that you have. So a lot just depends on the news, what we're hearing from Liam Cohn, what we're hearing from, you know, the BTJ rumors. It's gonna drive his ADP all over the place. So I'm not gonna even Smitty approve this. I'm just gonna say this is a very tough call, and then we'll just move on to Hampton. So no Smitty approved here. It's the one most unknown situation of them all. The last one, Hampton. We love Hampton. Hampton's the man, the myth, the legend. I'm only going to take 1 or 2 phone calls real quickly. You can dial in now if you've got the number. I'll definitely get your take before we jump, but I'm probably not going to go very long after this one. Hampton is, I'm excited about him. I will say this is the one that I'm a little concerned about from, how should I say this? I like Harbaugh a lot. I do. I think things haven't gone to plan yet, and I think that they certainly could get better next year, and they get some better luck. They've had offensive line injuries. They've had injuries up the wazoo for this whole team. They just haven't been quite what they've needed to be. They're just it's a very complex situation. Lots of moving parts. So much talent that they still figure it out to a degree, but they're crawling. They're crawling along. They're trying to piecemeal makeshift this thing without the offensive line being healthy. I like Hampton a lot. The injuries to the team, the ups and downs that the team's endured, mixed with the injury to Hampton, and all of that just gives you an unsettled feeling, I think, is what it really is. And because it feels a little Bengal-esque in the sense that you've got to worry about 2 different sides of this thing. You're worried about the Chargers and you're worried about Hampton. And you need everything to function properly, and you need health tied to more than just Hampton himself. Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, the Bengals starting off slow every year. There's a lot tied to Joe Burrow when you draft Joe Burrow or Jamar Chase early, or Chase Brown, that's out of the control of just the player. It feels a little bit like that with Hampton in some ways. So does Hunter. This is why these are the 2 players I worry the most about. However, I still really like Hampton, and I want him in at least, 1 out of every 7 leagues, let's say, somewhere around that ratio. I don't think he's a player I can condone drafting in 30% of leagues like I would a Jahmyr Gibbs, which, again, diversification across our fantasy football portfolios will be the mantra of the offseason. But some players I'll lean heavier to 30%, whatever. Hampton's one that I don't think I would max out that highest number that I would allot myself the ability to go saturate teams with. But this is definitely somebody that I want to share. I want to be on board. Love him. He's a Triple H and associate monster from the start. We loved his skill set walking in. We love his skill set now. But there's concerns and questions that feel more tied to the entire situation, not just Hampton, that give me concerns. But I think that gets baked in a little bit too, unless, he finishes on a tear. And then that "what have you done for me lately" is something monstrous. But if it's not, and I kind of get the sense that he'll be a little bit up and down, his matchup is extremely tough here in Week 17. So he could leave a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths walking out of this Week 17 game against Houston. It's going to be brutal for him. It'll definitely be a brutal outing for him. And I think that at the end of the day, that's going to be what we're looking at. We're going to essentially look at this thing after it's all said and done. Week 17 is over. This is going to be the big judgment game that everyone's going to cast judgment on this situation based on this game right here. It's at LAC Again, some of you are watching this 2-3 weeks, maybe a month or two after this, and you know the outcome. But if he ends up having a mediocre game in championship week 17, this Sunday, 2 days from now, well, really 1 day now, from now, or no, I'm sorry, this is tomorrow. That's the tomorrow game. This is the first game of the morning. This is the first game right now. It's already today. So this game happens today. This game happens today at 2:30 p.m. my time. That's 4:30 p.m. Eastern. We will know after that game whether Hampton's going to be, I think, a value or we're paying the price for him in the next season. I'm not saying that week 18 and other, things can't factor in, but I think just like everyone's really mad at Jahmyr Gibbs, just absolutely pissed at him. Everybody hates Goff. Everybody's disappointed in St. Brown. So I think all those things will be impacting. As of right now, if I had to pay 3.1 value for Hampton in 2026 Dynasty, I'd pay that. I think that's fine. If I had to pay 12 or 13 overall value for Hampton, I might not be as excited about that. So his ADP will be probably driving my interest more than some of the other players. I'm willing to overspend on a Hendy. I'm willing to overspend on a Harvey. I'm willing to overspend on an Egbuka, given the projected ADPs that we kind of are feeling out right now. I don't know if I'm willing to overspend if his cost is 12 or 13 overall. There's so many good players that have already built trust with me to go gambling there at 12, 13, 14, 15. But I do want to own them, and I do Smitty approve Hampton. And as I Smitty approve all of the Triple H and Associates, by the way.
In a jam, call HHH and Associates.
Triple H and Associates. Locations on Earth and Jupiter.
Travis, you're live as quickly as you can. Tell me your thoughts on the Triple H and Associate boys. Which one do you want to kind of focus on?
So I want to talk about Hunter. So I think with that offense, while he's not like an elite wide receiver, Jacoby Myers coming in was kind of the piece that was missing. Just a really steady, reliable receiver that can, help elevate T-Law even when he's inconsistent, because Jacoby's always in the right place, runs good routes, catches the ball. But that being said, Cohen is an offensive-minded guy, so I don't think there's any way he's going to be able to, avoid the temptation of having Hunter on the offense. Not that he should, but, he's an offensive-minded guy. He's going to want that skill set in the offense. And to me, I think, now that they have Parker Washington and Strange and Jacoby Myers, I think the best move would be for them to sell on BTJ.
Yeah, he doesn't even want to be there.
Decent and right, it doesn't work there. Him and T-Law have trouble being on the same page. He now doesn't really fit the offense that they're kind of building there. So my hope is that he goes, and then because Hunter and Jacoby Myers can really exist together, no problem.
Yeah, and I think that everybody making assumptions that because they've figured it out, they don't want to dial it back and retry. We already got it jiving well. I don't think Cohen thinks like that at all. I think he's thinking, wow, give me another toy, I'll be even better. So yeah, I agree with you, but I think BTJ feels the most out of place, and that extension to Myers does, in my opinion, makes it feel like someone's gone, and it's not going to be Hunter. And I just at the end of the day, if BTJ had a great year, and if he didn't feel like he was a waste of space on the field even now, and he's running, just out there, I feel like he's a lollygagger, and I think that they're probably going to not shop him actively, but if someone comes knocking, they're going to open the door and be like, what are you going to give us? So that to me, gives me hope that he could also go and maybe revive himself, because I don't know that he's going to do well in Jacksonville. I think you're going to get a very watered down version of what BTJ could become. but you send him to like New England where he can be the lone wide receiver for Drake May. That's fantastic. You send him to another location like the Raiders. The Raiders, like, you know what would be amazing if I was the Raiders? I don't know if BTJ would be the guy. I think I probably would take a gamble on him, although he's been so disappointing. I don't even know what I feel anymore. But if I did, let's say I go get Lamar, I go get a BTJ. I would fix things immediately in LV, and I'd overpay whatever I have to overpay. That would be an unbelievable move. That's probably what I would focus.
It's funny you said that, because I was actually going to say, like, a team I could see BTJ being really good on is the Ravens with a guy like Lamar, because it's BTJ. You know, he's an athletic freak and he can get down the field, and so if you put him in an offense, you know, that's built around that, you know, explosive plays and really athletic guys, and obviously the Ravens came to mind because of Lamar and the way you see him, you know, throw the ball down the field using his athleticism and stuff. You know, he could fit. Now, he might not be a 1,400-yard receiver there, but in terms of a football fit, he might fit really well.
Yeah,
in an offense like that.
We'll see. But either way, Hunter definitely, you know, is going to have some value fluctuation based on the wide receiver room. So we'll have to see what that, because that could mean that he gets little targets in the beginning stages of 2026, and we're like all disappointed in him again, and we're like, what in the hell? Why do we even invest in him? He's getting 3 targets in week 1. He's getting 2 targets in week 2. I mean, it could pop off, you know, solidly right away too. We don't know, but he definitely has feelings of we don't know what in the hell we're looking at, and so for that reason, he just is the most unknown of this Triple H and associate crew. Whereas Egbuka, we know his future is bright. We know he's the number 1 wide receiver on the team for the future. Hampton, we know he's the starter in LAC for the foreseeable future. Harvey is absolutely crushing it. And then Hendy's a little bit ambiguous because of, I believe, Vrabel just feels like he doesn't. And again, this is a tough conversation to have with people that are examining this from like just a football perspective, because they're going to say, how are you going to call him inept in any way when this team is firing on all cylinders? And again, for me, it just comes down to they would be firing on all cylinders even better if Hendy was given the proper workload. Now, he is unveiling him more, and he's obviously, Hendy, been stepping up big time. But this will be a true test for me in week 17 if Hendy plays, in week 18, or if, depending on if they sit starters, and but also in the playoffs, if they revert to like a 50-50 timeshare and they lose, I will be attributing a lot of that to not using Henderson, who is one of the biggest playmakers in the National Football League. Mm-hmm. So people could say what they want about, oh, they've been winning, Drake May's playing great, Coach of the Year candidate, all that, but Vrabel still is making a mistake in my mind, not using Hendy when he doesn't use Hendy. So he has a lot to prove to me in the playoffs here, because if he craps the bed on the usage and doesn't give his chance the best opportunities, his team, the best opportunities to pop off these runs. Hendy, what has Hendy done when you give him enough work? He gets a 50-yard touchdown. You know, so like you could sit here and go, Stevenson's getting 5 yards of carry, Smitty. He looks great. Right. But he's not getting a 60, 50-yard touchdown that changes the game. And maybe you still win and crawl to a finish, but maybe you blow everyone out of the water with 50-yard touchdowns every 15 carries if Hendy's in there. So that's the part that gets frustrating for me, to have conversations with people that try to argue that Stevenson's good enough. Like Allgeier's good enough. It's not.
Right.
But we'll see what happens.
I think
he's volatile too.
Yeah, and I think the concussion, you know, put some scare into us too, because then you saw Ramondre, you know, do okay. I mean, he did well, but a lot of it was that one big touchdown he got. But and then your mind just starts to go. It's almost like PTSD from earlier in the season. Sure. You know, where your mind
I have no idea what he's
doing. What if this goes back? What if we, you know? And I think it's past that, but you know, even as a Patriots fan, I can't say for sure I know what's going to happen. So until we see it set in stone, where like no matter what, he's getting 18 to 20 touches a game, they find a way to do that, then,
Yeah,
there's always going to be the question.
Yeah, I just hope Vrabel doesn't sit there and go, we're just gonna lean on our veteran here, and it's like, bro, like you're leaning on your veteran to get you slowly down the field when you could hand it to a monster that can pop it off. At every 25 carries, he's getting a 40 or 50-yard run. But you have to feed him. You can't give him, 8 carries, 10 carries, and expect to see that anytime soon because it's going to take you 4 games to get there. So it's insane to me. I even dread having the conversation over and over with people that don't understand what I'm saying, and they're not football or fantasy people in my mind that don't understand the concept that just because Stevenson does look pretty good when you need him, he's a good player, but he is nowhere near the electric playmaking touchdown scoring monster that is Trey Henderson that we've known from the beginning. And so it's painful for me to be like, oh yeah, this coach of the year, which he does deserve to be looked at for that. But it's frustrating to me because I've watched him literally just hold this monster back all year long. And everybody's just like, it's great. He's doing great with it. He is doing great with it, but he could be doing so much better. And every time Hendy's been on the field, it's proven. It's proven. These 50-yard, he's the only one in the league with the breakaway touchdown runs that he has. He's what was the stat? He was number 1 in the league in 30+ yard runs.
Yeah, the top 4 are Gibbs, Achane, Hendy, and Harvey, and then the next guy on the list is quite a bit down. Yeah, so those 4 are clearly the most explosive.
Per touch, I bet you it's Hendy 1. On the year, it's Gibbs, Achane, Hendy, Harvey, but per touch, it's probably Hendy.
Yep, I would bet.
I mean, it's just 50-yard run, 50-yard touch around, 50, 60. It's like this guy's unbelievable. When he popped the last one he had to the left side of the field, I lost my mind. He reminds me of I mean, I'm trying to think of a player that we haven't already comped him to from like the past. I don't want to say. I mean, we know he reminds us of Gibbs a lot, of course. Gibbs, in some ways, Achane's a little different the way he does it, but there's almost like some other player I can't pinpoint. Like if it's MJD,
Priest Holmes, you had said before.
Yeah,
too.
Priest Holmes before, but like MJD might be popping in my mind the way he would hit something and then just boss to the left side of the field after he didn't find what he needed to the right. And Hendy just the quickness, the speed. I love Hendy. But anyway, Hunter's a questionable player for next year for sure. As much as I want to say, oh, I love him, he's going to be great no matter what, I can't do that. All I can tell you is that I want to have a share or 2 of them, and hopefully it works out. But it definitely has some question marks for sure that we'll address as we go in. Travis, any other real quickly, and then I'll go over to DJ, who's waiting there patiently, and then I'm going to jump out.
Yeah, just on Hampton, I think there's like a lot we still have to see. I love the talent, and like you said, he's going to be their guy. I think he just didn't get a chance to show it. He got the ankle injury or foot injury, whatever it was, real early, and they lost 2 all-pro level tackles. And then on top of that, Ladd's been banged up all year. Herbert broke his hand. He's been banged up. The whole team with injuries has just been a mess. So I think the key will just be having everybody healthy for us to see, Hampton's ceiling.
I think because of that, and mixed with Hampton's injury, it's like it just makes it really Bengal feeling. Like, damn it, there's a lot of things that go wrong. Yeah. Like, is this going to be one of those things where, like, the luck is just not there for him? I don't know. But I'm real excited about him. Him and Hunter just have the most question marks. So that's all. It doesn't mean they can't all work out and be amazing. But RJ, Hendy, and Egbuka feel like they are locked into their team's future in ways that I think are just a tiny bit safer. But Hampton will be there. as soon as we start seeing, them use him properly. Like the other concern is that they were using Vidal a lot, even when Hampton's been healthy and ready to go. They've been using him for pass protection reasons. And so those are some things that have kind of like soured the Hampton bounce back. But now that Vidal is hurt, we'll see what happens with Hampton this week. But it just just happens to be the toughest matchup he could face against the Houston Texans, who get Stingley back for Week 17. So they're going to be even tougher against the pass. So that just means that it's going to trickle back down to being able to stop the run a little easier. So, all right, DJ, you're live as quick as you can.
Yeah, real quick.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, real quick. Best show on the planet. So I'm 3 years in terms of Dynasty. And one of the things that in the 3 years that I'm learning is like patience and understanding, excuse me, the projection, like you stated earlier. Whereas in redraft, patience certainly can be a virtue. So I'm just kind of learning how to practice patience. So with these values in the running back, as it relates to like ADP, I like the idea of these running backs kind of being pushed down. But, the 26 running back class isn't that strong. So, these running backs values, if you're getting them in ADP, that's awesome. And great stat with Harvey. The 5-5, didn't know that. That's excellent. I think that Harvey's thing is, locked and loaded with Peyton. As Peyton goes, I think he will go. He has the skill set. That Kamara comparison, and you said, Sayers, and that's just modern history. That's an amazing stat. I mean, it's almost like built in, and he has the skill set. Last thing, JCM, Bill, as it relates to like Hendy and even Hampton, it's the explosiveness. Hampton has it. Hendy has it. JCM has it, right? So, these guys with more touches, while, we'd like to think they'd be as efficient, Harvey's rushing this past week was awful. Thank goodness for the 5, receptions and that touchdown. But he was second in the team on targets with 7. So these guys able to catch passes and be explosive is how I would like to look at their value in ADP. Bill has been suppressed, but I think that, you can get him pennies on the dollar. It's just that he exhibits those traits that we're talking about. And why these coaches may not use them, it's a wonder. But it's the explosiveness. Yeah. Hampton has exhibited that. Best show on the planet, guys. Try to show it. Thanks.
Thank you, DJ. Appreciate you. Travis, any final thoughts?
No, I just think a lot of these guys, next year will have clearer roles, and that was a part that just sucked about the beginning of the year was, for one reason or another, they weren't able to, just come out of the gate fire, and I get that happens, but even when you look at Egbuka, so many different things have gone wrong. He came out of the gates on fire, but then Baker gets banged up, he gets a little banged up, team gets, kind of falls apart. And then when he kind of hits a rookie wall, and then when it seems Baker's starting to feel a little better, all the other wide receivers come back. So he was without any help. Then he had everybody flood back at once. So it's like he never quite got a spot where he was, comfortable in the offense and, able to get the targets he needed. So I think a lot of people don't look at that. They just look at he didn't produce for fantasy for this many weeks, so I'm writing him off, and that'll be a mistake.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. I can't wait to see where these guys get ranked. I mean, there's still a lot of doubters on Harvey. They kind of show up somewhere and go, he looks trash. If he didn't have that touchdown, he would have sucked. There's still a lot of people trying to push him down. And there's still going to be a lot of people that want to push Hendy down. There's still going to be so many people, no matter how Egbuka kind of finishes, unless the Bucks win their last 2 games in Week 17 and Week 18. Again, if you're watching this a month or 2 from now, you know the answers to this. But if the Bucks win the last 2 games, make it to the playoffs, and Buka tears it up for a game or 2, even, or just 1 game, then I think, we'll see people buy in a lot more. But if we do even end the season, no playoffs, 1 good game, 1 bad game, there will be so many people that have been trashing Buka all year that didn't have him, that they're so glad he tanked because now they feel right about missing the boat on it. That's what you got to understand. Yeah. A lot of comments are always derived. You got to be careful reading comments. Are derived from some sort of selfish or, their team perspective. So if someone hates Buka, they typically don't have Buka. It's somebody going, do I start Buka this week? I don't know if I could do it. Like, that person has Buka. Somebody that says Buka's trash, those people don't have a lot of Buka. And so they're going to come in and say a lot of negative stuff because it makes them feel better about the fact that they didn't have him back when he was popping off and they felt like a moron. So you just got to be careful with what you're reading. And then those people will take that into next season because they're doubling down so they don't look wrong. Like it's a uncomfortable feeling to walk in next year if you hated Buka all year and be like, I like Buka now. People will do it. Some people, the smart owners, people adjust and adapt like we do. I'll go in from 1 year and adjust and adapt. I don't care what people think about me. Flip-flopper, it's not flip-flopping. It's adjusting and adapting. It's being a good owner, recognizing things that need to be changed. But I think a lot of people are going to doubt Buka. I think Buka is going to be the most doubted of them all.
With Buka, it's just, I buy in on the Ohio State pedigree. And from a dynasty perspective, as I'm learning, these guys, in particular and especially Emeka, has the skill sets and the showing it. So from a long-term perspective, to the moon. He's that guy. He's nice. I think he's just learning how to play on the outside. Real quick, Hunter, and Cohen, but also what we're seeing with Lawrence seems like it's almost a mirror image to what Cohen was implementing in Tampa. So, that Mike Evans role, be it BTJ or Travis Hunter, and that X role is not necessarily, I think, affected by Jacoby. But I think Travis was dead on. Jacoby's a pro, much like Diggs is, so he's productive. So Hunter, in terms of his position and role, I think Travis hit the nail dead on. I might be biased, but Hunter, Cohen, I can't imagine not wanting to use it, and if nothing else, running those Mike Evans routes. I'm not saying Hunter is that, but he's capable in that X, and so they all can eat.
If only we could have seen Buka with Cohen. It would have been nice.
It'd be ridiculous. It would be ridiculous. I think we're seeing Lawrence. We saw how Baker came along, right? Look at Lawrence.
Well,
and how he's using, the research. So Hunter's just going to be an enhancement.
Yeah. All right. Thanks, DJ.
In my opinion.
Appreciate you, bro.
Later, guys.
Travis, any final thought? We're out of here.
No, it'll be fun going into 2026 to see where these guys, not just dynasty startup stuff like that, but then into redraft too when we get into that.
Can't wait
to see where people start valuing them, because I think depending on your league, the value could be all over the place at first, until things settle. So looking forward to it.
All right, thanks, Travis. Appreciate you. Later.
Thanks, Smitty. Bye.
Guys, thank you for being here on the Dynasty channel. Make sure you subscribe if you're new. You might not even know you're watching the Dynasty channel. And you just get popped up and you're like, oh, Smitty's live. But I'm on the Dynasty channel. You're watching the Dynasty channel. Make sure you subscribe to the Dynasty channel. Make sure you get on over to my year-round 24/7 365 Patreon. There's a Dynasty chat inside this group of chats. And so you can talk 24/7, get advice, etc., from the amazing community that you see in the live chat right now. See you all tomorrow. I'll be live an hour before kickoff. Appreciate you all. Thank you, mods. Deuce. Subscribe.